Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's live stream. I'm Jay Polaki, founder and chief gecko at HR Geckos, and I am excited to bring this topic to all of you today. I'm an HR leader turned technologist, leading this startup in the HR technology space, and I'm joined by incredible thought leaders who have been in the HR industry and have since also moved on to be business leaders, starting their own enterprises as well as being consultants and chief product officers in smaller companies after their long HR tenures. So I'm excited to welcome you here today. I'm joined by an esteemed panel of thought leaders, and I would like to begin by letting you know who's powering today's event. It is, of course, powered by HR Geckos. And here's a brief synopsis of what HR Geckos is. HR Geckos is an AI-powered HR operations platform that automates the HR help desk and streamlines HR processes. So on any given day, HR teams are trying to enter data into 10 different systems, and that's our topic for today as well. And definitely all of this bogs HR down. So HR teams really need to change how they operate to change the employee experience and how they're viewed in the organization, not just as a cost center, but as a true partner in the business. HR Geckos uses AI power to power your help desk and streamline your HR processes, saving you time and delivering valuable insights. So this allows you to focus on your most valuable asset, your people. And a seamless and efficient HR services provided by HR Geckos will definitely transform your people operations, and I can vouch for this. So either connect with me directly via email or scan this QR code, and we can connect on LinkedIn. And to learn more about HR Geckos, please schedule a call with our team at hrgeckos.com or scan this QR code to see how we can transform or how we will transform your HR operations. Thank you so much for being here today. So without further ado, I'm going to bring to the stage our esteemed panel today. Duane and Wes are joining us live, and Jess is unfortunately on a plane, but she has been very kind to record a few sound bites for us, and so she's going to definitely be chiming in on the questions today. So welcome, Wes and Duane. Thank you so much for being here. Before we dive into the topic, I wanted to give you a moment to tell us what's rocking in your HR world right now, or in your enterprise world, in your entrepreneurial world right now, and a little bit about who you are.
Sure, I can start. I'm Duane Bray. Good to see you all here. I am Chief Product Officer at a startup that's focused on AI and human intelligence called GroupIt. My background is all over the place. I'm actually a designer by training, but I also did a 10-year stint as Chief Product Officer of a design and consulting company called IDEO, which is actually where I met Wes, and we worked together for a while, which was exciting and very fun. And I think a big approach for me is thinking about kind of what the employee experience is like, what engagement looks like, and how a lot of the new tools and systems can actually be a better strategic tool for HR leaders today.
Wonderful. Wes?
Yes, hi, and thanks for having me today, Jay. Like Duane mentioned, he and I met back in our days at IDEO, and that was an amazing time. What I'm up to now is that I'm the SVP of North America for a company called HIT Global. HIT stands for Humanizing IT. That's our flagship product, which is a technology certification that actually integrates human-centered design with IT service delivery. And it's having transformative outcomes at different companies with our clients. Throughout my background as a technology leader and working with HR over many years, what I come to this with is, like Duane said, a real significant focus on the human experience, and understanding that ultimately it's the value of these experiences and the engagement through these experiences that really are going to set companies apart as we move forward.
Wonderful. Well, Jess is not here to introduce herself, but I'm going to do it for her. Jess Miller-Merrell is a thought leader, HR influencer, an HR technologist, and an entrepreneur. She is the Chief Innovation Officer, CEO of Workology. If you've prepped for an HR cert course, you've definitely come across Workology, and she's a phenomenal advisor on the board of HR Geckos as well. So welcome everyone today. Thank you so much for being here. Let us know where you're joining us from in the comments, and do submit any questions you have here in the comments, or if you're catching the replay, please send them via LinkedIn Messenger or email info@hrgeckos.com anytime. So let's dive into today's topic. We are, talking about how unified HR technology can transform fragmented ecosystems into strategic powerhouses that drive business success, of course. And some of the key themes that we are going to be discussing today are the challenges of a fractured HR tech ecosystem. Hello, anyone there who has one? Benefits of unification for processes, another big HR burning topic and business topic today. Employee experience and strategic alignment, so crucial, right? And how do we future-proof HR with scalable AI-driven technology? Yes, I said the AI word because it's everywhere. So we're bringing, these different perspectives from four different perspectives: Chief Product Officer and HR leader Duane, CIO, IT leader Wes, and HR leader and entrepreneur Jess, and myself, HR leader turned HR technologist and HR technology startup founder Jay. So without further ado, Duane and Wes, today many organizations adopt multiple tools, and I ran this short survey where I asked my LinkedIn network about what they're finding themselves doing, right? Because we often find ourselves in HR burdened with tedious administrative tasks. We struggle with disorganized data management, and we face compliance risks because we're dealing with all of these inefficient processes. And definitely these hinder overall organizational performance. And so the few people who responded, they had definitely chimed in, and you can see disjointed HR systems was one of their biggest pain points in the current HR support processes. So I'm going to begin with you, Wes. While we are exploring all of this, disjointed tech ecosystem, what are some common signs that you are seeing and have experienced that an organization's HR tech ecosystem has become too fragmented? And I'm going to switch the scene here so we can see you better. There you are.
Okay. Too fragmented when your people become human middleware. Basically, they're copying and pasting data by forms just to complete a single workflow, or they're asking around to figure out which system holds the real answer.
I think we're experiencing some technical difficulty with Wes here. Wes, would you like to say that again, please?
So what I was saying is that a system is too fragmented when your people become human middleware. And are you hearing me?
Kind of. It's a staticky.
Okay.
It's breaking right there. So there's some technical glitch. Maybe we can switch to Duane and come back to you while you resolve that.
Let's do that.
All right. Okay. Well, so Duane, I'm going to come back to you, Wes, with the same question. But Duane, I had a different question for you.
Mm-hmm.
How does the fractured system impact the employee experience? I mean, we're talking about employer brand and employee experience in the age and era of AI. What have you seen where these fractured systems definitely impact that employee experience and employer brand in today's workplaces?
Yeah, I mean, I think When you look at that, there's actually two sides of the ecosystem that are impacted. So as an HR leader, you lose control. As an employee, you lose control. So as an HR leader, my data is spread across multiple systems. My requirements for what I want to do and build are actually dictated by those systems and their limitations. And you also lose your narrative to your employees. Like, why do all these systems, how do they contribute to the value of a holistic employee experience? And the employee experience is the flip side of all of that. So I've got to sign into all these different systems. I've got to do redundant data entry across them. I have disjointed experiences across engagement and feedback and L&D and performance management and payroll. They're all handled in different places. So where do I go to for support? Am I going into one of these systems for that? What is the role of my HR leader for that? And then as an HR leader, I'm also just struggling to stay strategic about serving those employees because I'm not able to look at the data across all of those different systems that easily to pull information out of that. So it's hard to make systemic shifts or changes because I have to roll things out across different systems. I have to aggregate across different systems. When I was at IDEO, we took an approach of actually building a front end across all of our systems. It was really just like a fancy digital employee handbook that was a website. But part of it was because we wanted to own the narrative of why each aspect of what we did. So our compensation strategy, our approach to benefits, our 401k plan, our performance management system that was aligned with our values. They wanted employees to know why we made the decisions that we did. Yes, sometimes they were logging into another system to achieve that, but we wanted to kind of set the stage of that. And I think that's really important to not fragment the employee experience.
Absolutely. And, some of what you said, I think definitely is also in what Jess has recorded for us. And I'm going to play her, answer shortly here. But I'm going to return to Wes. Wes, I hope your technical difficulties have been resolved. And let's dive back into your question. What are some common signs that you see, with HR tech ecosystems being and becoming too fragmented today within organizations?
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's give this a go. You let me know if it's any better. So perfect. Well, when a system's too fragmented because your people become human middleware, right? They're copying and pasting data between tools. They're logging into like 5 different platforms just to complete a single task. And then they're going around on a hunt to figure out which system holds the real answer. From a humanizing IT perspective, that's a failure of design. Tech should remove friction, not create it. When systems don't talk, employees can't do their best work. And that frustration, it shows up in morale, it shows up in productivity, and sometimes even attrition.
Absolutely. And, attrition is so big today, not just because of the way in which technology is making people averse to, stepping foot into an office or even, being in a physical workplace or actually giving them more flexibility as well. So there are two sides to the argument. But one of the biggest pet peeves I think that employers have today is that they're not seeing more of their employees in the workplace while they're providing all of these technology tools to be more efficient and be more productive. So there's always that big, question of what is the right way to engage our current workforces given the hybrid nature of our workplaces. But I'm going to play a little soundbite from Jess where I had asked her what are the hidden costs, both financial and strategic, of managing too many disconnected tools. And this is what she has to say. Give it a listen.
I want to talk about the hidden costs of all these different tools that we have in HR technology. So if we think about tools, I think about tools maybe like managers. And when we have too many managers or leaders providing direction, guidance, information, it is really hard for employees to be able to understand what the priorities are and to sort of navigate through all this different information and resources that are being shared. And it leads to a lot of miscommunication, things not being alignment, and people are prioritizing things and moving in the wrong directions. And so technologies and communication tools and resources in our organization are the same way. When we have too few tools, people don't get all the information, right? Because maybe they don't resonate with a certain type of tool. But when you have too many tools and they're disconnected, then there's too much information and it is likely not being monitored, or there's not a strategy for communication that's taking place in that organization. And so employees are overwhelmed with information, or they're stuck because there's too much information. There isn't always a happy medium. This impacts our business in a number of ways. This can hurt profitability, this can hurt productivity, this can hurt employee engagement, and overarching the brand. So from a strategic standpoint, there are a lot of financial impacts by not having the right tools connected and allowing for things like being able to log into a single location or a portal to get access to all the information, and sort of rushing around and trying to hunt for their passwords and where the portal login is to be able to access all these disparaging tools in all these different places. So I think that's the biggest challenge in my mind for organizations, is the fact that we likely have too many tools, or we don't do a good job of communicating how to access those tools, what the purpose of the tools are, and then organizing communication to happen through those platforms. Instead, maybe managers rely on tried and true methods like email, spreadsheets, conference calls, instead of leveraging these other tools and technology to reinforce messages or deliver them in a different way. Especially since we all learn, absorb information, receive information differently. That's just part of the human experience. So I hope that answers your question.
Well, thank you, Jess. That was very insightful. And you can catch the replay as well if you wanted to get to know a little more about what Jess had to say just now. But just to summarize what we've just discussed in terms of, identifying and addressing the challenges of a fractured HR tech ecosystem, we're seeing that data silos and complicated workflows definitely lead to frustrated employees and chaotic workplaces. And as Duane mentioned, poor employee experience can definitely hurt retention, and Wes talked about attrition, and definitely employer branding is taking a hit too. And all of these inefficiencies definitely drain resources that could be better focused on strategic initiatives. So let's switch to talking about how simplifying processes with a unified HR platform will better serve businesses and organizations. Today, unifying the HR tech stack isn't just about consolidation. It's about creating seamless workflows that empower teams and definitely reduce administrative burdens. So let's dive into and discuss what unification really means. And I'm going to start with Wes again. Wes, what do you think when someone says unification, and what does that entail in the context of HR technology? Is it just about integration, or is there more to it?
Well, unification goes way beyond plugging systems together, Jay. It's about creating a seamless, intuitive experience for the people using them, the HR teams, the managers, and the employees, right? A unified HR platform should feel like a well-choreographed dance, not a relay race where we drop the baton. Like, again, in the humanizing IT, we like to say that good tech honors the human journey. So unification simplifies the flow of work and information, so people spend less time navigating systems and more time making meaningful contributions to real human outcomes.
Absolutely. And Duane, you and I have always talked about how smaller HR teams need to leverage automation within unified platforms to do more with less. And I think we had done a webinar a couple of years ago exactly on this very topic. So I'll let you talk to this topic a little bit, and then we'll also talk about some real world examples that you've seen, Duane.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think to me, this is a topic that's near and dear to my heart, and a lot of actually what you've been working on with HR Geckos, right? The whole idea of automated workflows that help HR leaders be more strategic, help connect the dots. So what does it mean to actually have automated workflows for things like the onboarding or offboarding process, and how do we build that? And I think this combination of automation and unified platforms is a big idea for lean teams to be more strategic and more effective, because you have centralized data. You reduce the amount of manual effort. So I can make a change in one place and roll it across other systems. I don't have inconsistencies across all of that. You can also empower your employees to do more self-service with basic chats. Like, what if I can take the control over an address change, or getting my payroll stubs, or checking my PTO balance, or any of those things without going to the HR leader for the tactics of it. I also think that what I like about what I see in a lot of these systems is that you can do things like get started small. Like, what if I took onboarding as a task and built an automated workflow around that to understand the benefits and expand from there? I can add more to that over time as I understand the value and the benefits for my team. The other thing is, I know AI is a controversial topic in HR. I'm more in the pro AI camp, so I'll just get that out there. But there's a lot of work with emerging AI agents that can look at predictive data. So what if I can better understand pay equity gaps or attrition risks or things without necessarily having to have a full-time data scientist on my team? If I have good centralized data, emphasis always on good consistent data, which we don't all have, but that allows me to do a lot more. And again, a big part of that is, like, I've got the centralized data repository, which is my one source of truth. And I can do so much more with that than having it distributed across different systems.
Wonderful. From what I'm hearing, unification definitely means connecting systems to create a single source of truth for data and workflows from both of you. Mm-hmm. And some of the examples that we've talked about are maybe automating functions within the HR space, like onboarding, or integrating payroll with performance management systems. Mm-hmm. And definitely automation allows, smaller teams to shift the focus from administrative tasks to strategic goals, because it's so crucial today for the survival of these smaller teams and smaller organizations. Take, for example, a 250 employee company that has an HR team of one, maybe. Mm-hmm. How do they, continue to focus on the strategic goals while they're inundated with the administrative tasks? And they definitely need to have a more unified approach to how they're sourcing technology and leveraging the technology. But at the same time, how are they connecting all these systems to create that single source of truth for data and workflows? So without further ado, I would like to switch scenes here and share this really fun GIF, because this is one of the biggest, fun things that we used to discuss when I was part of an HR team. Whenever we contacted the IT department, the first thing we were asked was, have you tried turning it off and on again? How many of you have been can attest to this, right? I mean, that's the first thing that we were always asked. Now, we're talking about bringing strategic value and connecting HR to the C-suite and making sure that HR is that true business partner in the business. And, HR leaders like yourself and myself have often faced these challenges in demonstrating our strategic value to leadership, because unified technology definitely can bridge this gap by providing actionable data and aligning goals with business outcomes. But hey, we're still struggling with this. Do we turn it off or do we turn it on? With the technology tools that we have today. So, Jess, I'm going to start with you. I have a recording from Jess about her, insights on this topic as well. But I'm going to start with you, Wes. What are some practical ways that you envision HR can align its goals with the broader business objectives using unified technology?
Sure. Well, the way I think about this is really there's a strategic alignment. There's strategic alignment, and the key to that is visibility. The visibility, the specific visibility that we can get from a unified platform around all of our HR data, it can give us real-time insights into workforce trends, right? Engagement, turnover, performance. And the key there is to tie it very closely to business metrics, right? I've seen organizations that use data to show how investments in culture or leadership lead to real business outcomes like revenue growth or higher customer satisfaction. And that's really what's key here, And I think if you can do that and empower your HR leaders to be able to tell a compelling story about how they're improving the employee experience and how that's leading to impactful strategic outcomes, then that's the ball game.
Wonderful. That's a great segue to what I asked Jess. I asked Jess about why do HR leaders struggle to demonstrate their strategic impact to the C-suite? And here's what she had to say about it.
Reasons in my mind that HR leaders struggle to demonstrate their strategic impact to the C-suite and their executive peers comes from a number of different places, but the most obvious place is historically human resources leaders' lack of business knowledge that ties what we do in HR to the business. I think it's both ways, right? So HR people, majority in my experience, aren't maybe comfortable or familiar with the business acumen side of what we do, reading financial statements, talking in business terms that their peers understand. But also, our peers don't take the time to really understand what we do in HR. In fact, when I tell people that I work in human resources, one of the most common assumptions is that I'm responsible for simply hiring and firing. And strategic HR leaders and people managers know that there's so many more nuances and things that we have our hands in to support the business. So really having and understanding HR for the business side, but also our peers taking time to understand what we do. And that really starts by building trust, having conversations, taking time and making a concerted effort to insert yourself into these executive conversations, but then getting to know your peers and understand what their priorities are. I think a lot of times we like to hang out behind our desk. We understand turnover, we know what to do, compliance, engagement, communication, but really a lot of our time needs to be spent building relationships with our peers and also collaborating with them. So finding out what they need and then how we might be able to partner and be able to support them, because there is all this misunderstanding and misinformation about what we actually do, how we support the business, and how we can partner and collaborate. It's not simply hiring and firing. We know it is so much more. That's why I like a focus on metrics and the business acumen side of what we do. And if we can communicate how we're impacting the business and using tools and technology and analytics to be able to do that, we can help have conversations to educate our peers and then insert ourselves in those places about where we might be able to support an individual or the larger business.
So that's wonderful that Jess actually, set this up for you, Duane, because my question for you was, how can integrated analytics from unified platforms help HR leaders make data-driven decisions? I mean, we're seeing a lot of this come at us today, talking about clear communication and alignment with the business goals. And how do we support organizational goals if you're not able to show the evidentiary data that, tells a business that, hey, we are not just a cost center, we are actually a true business partner?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I think there's just so much overlap, I think, between what Wes and Jess and I all, are saying and thinking. The key here is for HR leaders to be strategic, you have to be good at storytelling with data. And this is about turning data into decisions. Where integrated analytics come in is it's hard to make those decisions when you're pulling data from a whole bunch of different systems, because you actually want to correlate across them. I want to correlate hiring with retention, engagement with performance, DEI goals with promotion rates, things like that. And to do that, right, that allows me to go in and have credibility with other leaders. So if I say employees who don't have regular one-on-ones with their managers are 3 times more likely to leave in their first year, I'm starting to speak the language of finance and operations. I'm able to back up the reasoning behind the investments that I want to make. There is an expectation with our CFOs do forecasting all the time. And it's like, we need to demonstrate the ability to do similar forecasting and trends. Like, at our current hiring rates, we'll be short by 12 junior engineers by Q4. What do we need to do about that? Or can I benchmark myself against regional or industry trends? So this is really about actually saying, what is the data telling me? What are the implications for the organizations for my goals and priorities? What actions do I need to take? Right. And then what are my expectations of the outcomes of those actions based on what I'm seeing?
Absolutely. And from what I'm hearing, just to recap, all 3 of you have really stated that, disconnected systems make it harder to present this cohesive data and insights to leadership. Definitely. Unified platforms will probably provide real-time analytics that link the workforce metrics to the business outcomes, which is much needed today. And we can do this much faster today with a lot of the newer tools we have available. AI, for example. And then, of course, the strategic alignment, all of this requires communication, right? Not just between an internal HR team, but between the different teams in the business, so that everyone is cohesively focused on supporting the organizational goals together. So I have, a conversation once a week with a friend of mine, and sometimes with strangers as well in the HR space that I've just met. And I was talking to one of them the other day, and this is what she had to say. And I'm gonna bring this up on screen because I thought this was really funny when she said AI is like this new microwave for HR technology. And she was talking about how all of us are talking about future proofing our organizations with this unified technology, but at the same time technology is evolving so rapidly, and we're being promised so many wonderful utopian or dystopian futures that we no longer know which to take into consideration and which is not going to pan out, right? What is going to work for one organization might not work for another organization. And is unifying all of this technology really a good thing or a bad thing? And is it really going to help us stay adaptable in this ever-changing landscape in the workplace? So I asked Jess about, her forecast for HR trends and what she thinks will be shaping the future of HR technology today, this year and beyond. And here's what she had to say.
First of all, I want to say that I'm so sorry that I'm not there today because this is probably my favorite question. And I love to geek out on technology, future casting, think about where the industry as a whole is going to support organizations, specifically around technology. I'm sure in the course of conversation that we're talking about artificial intelligence. I don't think that any HR conversation right now in terms of strategic planning and technology is not going to involve AI in some format, but really smart AI, automated AI that can help enhance our skills and our jobs. More importantly, to help complete these mundane tasks or these automated tasks. I want something to deliver like metrics to me and then analyze the data and then provide me with just some information about possible trends and patterns that is seeing, or with tools like HR Geckos, automated onboarding tools that can deliver resources, information, and support directly to not only employees, but the pre-boarding conversation where employees are really kind of in that gray area where I feel like they're more at risk. Certainly they're from the moment they accept that job until the first 6 months of employment, they are really at risk for other opportunities because they still have their resumes out there, maybe conversations or applications that haven't, for job openings they applied for, haven't been fully processed. So trends shaping the future of technology. I definitely think that AI is in the conversation. I would like to see more automation. And so for us as strategic HR leaders to sit down and think about our jobs and our team's jobs and different ways that we might be able to automate tasks, not just through AI, but other forms of automation. So let me give you an example, maybe using tools to be able to announce like birthday announcements or celebrating like certain milestones that employees have met. Advising up and suggesting training and development based on maybe somebody's interest through like a push notification or those kind of things. These are all ways that we're able to leverage this technology to be able to support our organization. So we know that these things are happening in the background, right? These conversations, this recognition, it's happening. It doesn't diminish its value because it's automated, but it gives us space and time to be able to focus on things like upskilling our workforce, analyzing HR metrics and see how they impact the business, having more conversations with our executive peers to see and understand what the larger business organization's goals and plans are, and seeing how we can help be in alignment with those and maybe support them in those efforts. Because at the end of the day, we're all on the same team. The people function in my mind, and I think all of us here on this webinar are in agreement, is the most important part of the job, especially as these technologies like AI come to the surface, are being utilized more. Having a human-centered, people-centered sort of eye on things and perspective is going to be even more important, because as these AI tools and these automation technologies come into play, our role, or our people's role in the organizations, in many cases, is going to be more of a project manager, if you will, of these different technologies and tools to ensure that they're running, that they're working, that they're on task and delivering what they said that they would do. The integrations and information is flowing seamlessly, and we're following up to make sure that it is delivering the way that it is these technologies are supposed to be delivered. So when I'm thinking about tools and tech that's shaping our future, it's obviously AI, unification, and system platforms that make it seamless, so that if I'm sending a birthday update, but then I'm also sending an announcement for a new hire, it's great if they're happening all in one place, and then I'm able to measure that information. And that's why I think technologies that are more robust, that are kind of more of a suite of products are really powerful. And so integrations to fill those gaps for those suite products with technologies like Geckos are going to be even more important, to make sure that information is flowing from one place to the other, the automation and tech is happening, and then more importantly, I'm able to measure the effect of these automations and this technology and how it impacts our business. So AI is going to do so much for us. I can't wait to see how it just reveals itself.
So that was Jess, and that was the longest soundbite she had, and I wanted to play it in full because I didn't want to cut it off in the middle, because she had so many things to add to the conversation. And Wes and Duane, you both have talked about how unification supports scalability and adaptability in today's dynamic workplace. So Wes, what are your thoughts around this? And Jess has really set us up for this discussion. So please go ahead.
Yeah, so when we're thinking about like future proofing with unified technology, the way I'd like to, set the stage is, first of all, let's acknowledge that we're shifting from the information age to the age of experience. That's what's happening, right? Like when we're thinking about all the emerging technologies, of course, AI is the coolest kid on the block in this moment. But blockchain is still there. There's a lot of, there's the whole, all the extended realities, right? XR is still there. There's a lot of it. As it all comes together, what we're seeing is that we can actually focus and prioritize on the experience more than ever before, because all the operational backend is going to be automated, or it's in the process of being automated, and unified technology makes it that much easier. AI won't just automate tasks, by the way, it's going to anticipate needs, right? So we're talking about flagging burnout risk before the burnout happens, suggesting new development paths before somebody says, hey, I'm not getting energized by my role anymore, and helping you to see talent gaps before they actually impact the business, so you can have that predictive conversation and manage that risk with your business partners. We're also seeing a shift towards personalized employee experiences, tailored, intuitive, and more aligned to individual goals. So, that personalization is going to be something I think we're going to see more and more of. And so I think in the future, people will expect their HR tech to work more like Spotify or Netflix. And that's where we're headed.
Interesting. That's a very, very unique perspective, Wes, because we are all talking about personalizing the employee experience. Yeah, I like Spotify. So, and I like how they refer to their workforce as band members. They consider themselves to be this unique, I don't know, rock band, maybe. I don't know. They don't give it a specific genre, but that's a great analogy. That definitely puts into perspective what I want to ask Duane here. Duane, you and I always talk about how unifying platforms will definitely recharge these hybrid work environments, and all of these trends that we're seeing with AI driven decision making that Wes alluded to, that Jess alluded to, is definitely going to play a major role in how HR employs and deploys these kind of technologies to further engage and amplify the workplace and the workforce. So what role do you think AI will play in HR operations specifically while we're unifying platforms and basically amplifying this personalized employee experience?
Yeah, well, I think going back to the first question about kind of the trends that are facing HR technology, I think a meta trend is continue to do more with less. I think HR teams will continue to feel stretched. Budgets are not going to be growing, right? So I think one of the things that AI can help do is actually support those leaner teams. And I think it's exactly what Wes was saying earlier. Like, there is a component of automating and taking some of the tactics away. And so we can certainly do that with things like HR Geckos, HR chatbot, right? To take some of the, enable better self-service. But on the flip side, I want AI to spot things before I know to ask about them. So this kind of predictive or proactive stance of AI, I think, is going to be really, really important, because I want to better serve my employees. I want better tools and systems. I want to be able to think about those, and I want to be informed by what I think the trends are in data. The other thing I will say is, I know I've talked with some HR leaders who are reluctant, concerns about AI and what it might do or how it might operate, or data and privacy and security. But the one thing I will say is, it's important for HR leaders who haven't started experimenting to start doing so, because you better believe your employees are. So if you don't know how many employees go to ChatGPT for asking for help with how to negotiate a pay raise, or actually whether or not my company's benefits is any good compared to somebody else, right? They're going out. The days of Googling something, I think, is starting to shift. I go to ChatGPT to get a deeper analysis of my questions. So employees are pretty smart now and actually able to come to you with tougher questions, right? And they're learning. And again, their expectation is, I should be able to get the same level of information out of my company's system as I get from just going to ChatGPT. So what are we doing about it? So if that isn't a motivation, I don't know what is.
Well said. It's not just ChatGPT anymore. There's so many players in the mix.
Yeah.
And they're employing all of them to see how the prompts are, being received by these Gen AI tools, and what type of responses they're generating, and trying to, again, merge and unify all of those responses into one personalized response for themselves, right? So within that AI ecosystem itself, there's so much going on. So that, definitely wraps up this conversation today. We set aside a few minutes for audience questions. So if anyone has any questions, please send them our way here in the comments, or you can email us at info@hrgeckos.com, or send us your questions here on LinkedIn Messenger. We are all on LinkedIn. We all practically live on LinkedIn today because that's one of our connectivity tools, right? Here for people who are working in the hybrid workplaces of today. So just to quickly recap from everything that Wes, Jess, and Duane have talked about today, the risks of a fragmented system and how they impact efficiency and branding are crystal clear. If not from today's conversation, just by being in the workplace of today, right? The benefits of unifying HR tech stacks for streamlining processes and empowering teams, we have to shout from the rooftops about the benefits of this, right? We definitely need to be unifying our HR tech stacks. And again, the integrated analytics. How are we using integrated analytics to demonstrate HR's value and align with business objectives is so crucial. If you're not doing it, we better start doing it. And if we don't know how to do it, people like us are here to help you to do it. And of course, the future trends with AI, that really make unification essential for scalability, agility, adaptability within the tech ecosystem in the workplace of today. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Duane, Wes, and Jess, for bringing your valuable insights and sharing them with our community, the HR Bytes community, and our LinkedIn network today. I encourage attendees to assess their current tech stacks using today's insights, and definitely suggest scheduling a consult or a demo with vendors who offer unified solutions, such as us at HR Geckos. We are always happy to help out and give you a listen. So please do scan the QR code to get in touch with our team or to get in touch with me directly here on LinkedIn, and we'll be happy to assist you. So thank you again, Wes and Duane, again, and Jess. I am so fortunate to have you as my advisors here at HR Geckos, and hopefully we'll be seeing Wes on the team soon. But thank you so much for being here and sharing your insights.
It's great to be here with you today. Good to see everybody, and good to be reconnected with you, Wes.
Same. This was a real treat.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Take care.
Bye, everybody.